Well, good evening folks. It's back for some more development time. And tonight we have solved our component saving problem. We consulted with the plugins developer, or at least our Discord, and we got an answer to why these weren't saving. So let's implement it in the DOM splitter and the combiner, right? So all we need to do is anywhere on the graph, but we'll put it on the top, is we do an override of components to save. Okay. And I was not expecting that. Right. And that's because it looks like on the base connector component we have an override as well. So we'll have a look at that, and that's on the base connector, right? So we need to have a look at the base connector and check it out. Right, and it's got components to save. Okay, now we do not want that. Okay, but on the DOM splitter we do want that. Where is it? Okay, hang on a second. On the base component we need to check that, and it's not got EMS. Right, so we need to have EMS on that. Right. And we need to take EMS off the DOM splitter. So it inherits it, which is okay. So now if we go into our overrides, we've got component to save. Right? And now what we do is we make an array and we put on our two components. So we add a pin to this. We have our acomp output and acomp input, and we save them. Okay. And the next thing we do is we do the exact same with the combiner. Right? So we get our top thing. And we'll take that away. That'll do. We'll straighten this out just to be tidy. And then we do an override again. Components to save. We make an array. Okay. And then once we've made this array, we add our components, which should be input component and output component. We bring these in. Okay. We add a pin and we join this up. And that, my friends, is the fix. Now we still have one issue, which this actually might fix, but I'm dubious about that fact. But we shall save everything anyway, and I will show you this actually working. So if we create, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll exit that for now. We'll come in here, we'll Control A and delete all the saved games. Okay. And once these are all saved, we shall minimize that. Then we'll press play, new game, test, 01, go. And from here, if we do a probe, right, so we do our little probe, and then what we'll do is we'll add some workers to the component, then we'll save it and load it again and make sure that our component is saving correctly. Then we shall rebuild the whole thing, right? So we've got one worker, okay, so I'm going to add one, add one, add one, add one, add one, and we now have 6 workers. Okay, then we shall save it, which we did. Remember, we had 6 workers, okay? So when we come back in and we click on this, we still have our 6 workers. So that proves categorically that our component is saving, okay? So what we can do now is we've got one more thing that we want to test that I don't know if it's working or not, and it's the object output, okay? End actor is the one problem remaining that I can think of to do with the saves for now, okay? I'm not talking about it's the only problem we've got, because obviously there's still things to get fixed and sorted and all sorts, but from the point of view of the saving for now, which is going to help us do all the other testing, okay, so we should be able to spin these round, spin that round and that round, and in a second we should be ready to spin that round. Okay, now we need to check that, it's copper ore, so we need more probes. So we'll do a probe here, and we shall do our probe, let's say here. Okay, let's not say here. Let's say here. And our little car is not going to avoid that, but let's not worry about it. It'll get there in the end, or maybe it won't actually, it's kind of really stuck. Oh, it's moving now. This is because these aren't set to affect navigation, which really they should be, but we're going to do all the settings at the end for those type things. And that's copper ore as well, which is not exactly ideal. Right, what I'll do in the meantime is I'll do another probe down here. And then actually what we'll do is we shall forget to pick conveyor belts. Okay. So join these. That's a weird one, that. Right, anyway. We shall forget to do that again. And we'll send this up to research. Okay. And we need to fix it so these aren't staying hovered. And we need to do that. And do that. Then we need to save our, do our research, close that. Then we need to find, that's copper ore, okay. There we've got bauxite there, so we can use this one. So we shall save it just now. Come to here, come to here. Do that, do that, do that, then join it up. Okay? And you can see there we've got our bauxite coming out. We've pumped it to 6, more than that probably. Should be able to see, yeah, we're at 11. Should be a maximum of 10, but we're not going to worry about that. Actually, it's different for each thing. Right, so we should be able to see our, yay, we have smoke coming out of the stack. So we have everything working here. We're going to save it. Then we're going to stop it. And this is the moment of truth, right? This is the moment of absolute truth. When this comes to here and triggers this transfer item, if this is nothing, we still have a problem. And I don't know why this end actor is not saving. Okay? So, if we continue, there we go, it immediately starts. And that's all good. And I have no idea why it just did that. But it's got something. Right, so we'll disable that breakpoint. Now, there was something there. We'll resume that for now. Resume that. Resume that. And now, that's the refiner, which is correct. Right? So, in theory, there out comes the next thing. And now this should be set as well. And here comes the stuff. Awesome. And there we have it. We have saving actually working and doing all the stuff it should be doing, which is fantastic. There we go, there's one. Right, we'll save that, and what I want to see is whether or not our research has been saved. Let's have a look at our research station, okay, to see if we have any components in there. And we do, and we're not saving them. I don't think I've set this one up. Nope, I haven't set this up. So we need to set these up. Okay, so we need to do the override again, and then components to save. Right, and then we need to make the array. Okay, then we're going to have 3, so we have that, and we have that. Okay, so now that we're saving all the components for all the objects, let's see. Yeah, that's not going to be set. We're going to have to start this again, because this will need to be set when we hit the button to actually research. So we're going to have to do that. So never mind, okay, that's fine. We're cool with that, because everything we know now is saving properly. Okay. So we do our probe, and then we do building, and now smelter, and our that. I'm actually going to change the wireframe to like just a sort of semi-opaque colour, so that it's kind of not so grinding on the eyes. The same for the hover over as well. Okay, so we need to check this. It's bauxite, so we're cool with that. Now what we need to do is build our splines, our conveyor belts, and what we actually need to do is, we'll do that next actually, is when you click on this and pick a conveyor, right, you're going to have to click on an output like that's going to light up like it does for the input, like that one, right? So there's that, and we need to kill the hover. So that's a couple of things that we need to accomplish tonight, I think. We're just gradually tidying things up to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing. So our next point of call is that. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we can save it. What I want to do is get these on back on to the actual track, right? So, we need to pick our research, close that, make sure this is on the right research type 1, which is correct, right? So this is now going to do what we want it to do. That's all good. So now we can hit our research and we should see this going up. There we go. Right, so that's gradually going to go up. There we go. That's pretty cool. We do probably want to change the colour on that. Well, you can see that's beginning to go up nicely. So we can close that down. And we're quite happy with that. So we'll save that and we'll stop it. Right, now let me demonstrate something that's quite important. We know that there was stuff on each of the different conveyor belts when we stopped it, okay? There was stuff travelling along the conveyor belts and we've got to replace it, right? So if I demonstrate this, right, I can pause it. Now have a look at this. Right, we've got all these objects here, right? These are the different things. There's iron sheet, for example, right? Now, what I did as a change was, and I've not made it visible, it's not got a my spline, right, which is not what we want. So if we stop that, right, and we double click this, then that's my spline there. Okay, and the thing about it is, this is the position along the spline. Okay, so that, if we open it, is between 0 and 1. Okay, so what we can do here is we can go to our event graph, we can create a variable, and we can say current position, and it's going to be a float. And when we update, we set it. Okay, and the next slight little change here that we're going to do is we're going to set that to save. Right, now we do know that this class has the EMS save interface. Right, now the only problem was there that it wasn't saving my spline, even though it actually should be. Okay, so with that in mind, it's probably when we event begin play, we get spline. Okay, and get spline, if it's valid, we set the spline to track. Now, what we might need to do here is we might need to put a little delay on this. Okay. So we shall do that, so that it's all loaded up. Delay for 0.2 seconds. Okay, and we actually might need to do a EMS loaded, or sorry, an EMS is saved, right? That's what I mean. Right. So when we go into move me, we need to know if this value is, well, this value, the current position, if it's not equal to 0, right? If it's not equal to 0, or it's EMS saved, then we basically need to get this current position, right? So we say we get is EMS saved, and that's going to be a bool, and we should probably so we save that, right? And then we go to our controller, which unbelievably we don't have open. So we come to here, FE controller, and when we save, right, which is over here, I believe, we get actor of class, right? So what we should do here is, if it implements, right, hi there Notion. I've been using Unreal Engine about a couple of years. Right, so this now is going to have to save more than one thing. Implement, does implement interface, right? So basically we're going to have to use this. If we're going to use get all actors a class, then can you array this actually? Never done this before. Nah, you can't. Then he'd be silly. It's not got a... Right, so... we could basically do this in a sequence, right? So, fundamentally we could do... Right, hang on a second. Let's see what we're doing. Yeah, basically what we're doing here is we're just setting it to is saved by EMS, right? So that's the only thing we're doing. So if we implement a sequence, right? You working on something yourself, Notion? So what we'll do here is we'll do that, right? And then we basically need to do the same with we don't need to do that because that's going to save everything that needs saved, right? But what we do need to do is do the base connectors. Right, now has this got an is saved? Yeah, right, so that's okay. And then we need to add one more thing, which is the one we're working on, which is the object, the output objects, right? So our product objects need to be done as well. So we need to do that and that. And we are going to do it as saved by EMS, but it's slightly different this time. So this is going to be output object, and this is going to be saved by EMS, right? So basically what happens is when you hit the save button, it tells easy multi-save that it's, well, sorry, it sets a variable, right? Why is that not liking that? It's because these for loops will be different. Right, okay, whatever. Right, for each loop. Right, go for it. Okay, so as I was explaining there, right, easy multi-save. You don't know when you begin play if you're loading it from a save game or if you're loading it by default, right? So basically what I've got is a variable in there, and if the player hits save, it updates. I'm going to do this now. And I don't know. Yeah, we don't have that in there, right? So we need to go into our base connector. And then have a variable put is saved by EMS. Okay, then that's going to get saved by EMS, and then we can say is saved by EMS, and we hit the wrong button there. Is saved by EMS. We set that to true, so that we know when we come in on begin play, when EMS creates this, that we don't do any of the general initial setup. All we do is load in the value, or let it continue loading, basically, is about the tall and the short of it. Now what I'll do for our output component is we shall rename this to is saved by EMS. Okay, and that's going to be a save game thing. So when we come into our controller, right, we can delete that. We can do for each. And we can basically say is saved by EMS. And we can set that to true. Right? Now, this will start coming together if you're watching this. Right? So, basically, if we look at our output object, right? We can do this, and we can say is saved. We can get this. We can say branch. Brain froze there. We had a little brain freeze. Right? And what we'll do here is we'll actually do a not. Right? So that the top one can more easily go to the top and it's more readable. Right? So if that's true, we play from start. And if it's false, we set new time, and we set the new time to the current position. Okay, now I don't even know if that's how I've never used this part of the timeline before, but I'm kind of hoping that's what it does, you know what I mean? Okay, so we've got to make sure my spline definitely saved. Okay, so we'll save that. Track is saved. Instance mesh is saved. We can't save the timeline, right? And that's what that other code was for. Now, if I am severely lucky, this might just work. I'm going to delay it by 0.4, right? Now, I'm going to be amazed if it works, okay? And it doesn't work. It's this well, yeah. What I actually want to see here is the current position of these objects. Right, now if I've done this right, we should press play, continue, then pause it, right? And if we go down to our objects, we've not got a current time on that. We have not got a current time on that. But hang on a second. We're going to stop this and we're going to run it again, okay? We're going to continue. And we're basically going to let it run out of the objects here. Now, those should actually start disappearing. See how they're all disappearing? Right? So there's more coming up because we're creating more, right? So we want to check at about 425. So if we save that, right, and stop it, we want to check what the current position is for like 425 and see what we get. Right? So if we pause that, and these are the ones here. We have 0 position, 0 position, 0 position, nothing there, right? And let's take a look at these ones. We have got a current position, right? And we have got a position there. So, in actual fact, it was generating new positions, right? So, what we'll do is we shall create a new one called 004, okay? So, this is going to be test 004. And this isn't really testing, this is actually fixing a problem. Not actually fixing a problem, it's actually implementing a new implementing the fact that we can actually respawn objects onto our spline. Okay, that's basically the point here. So if we go with that, all we need to do is create one spline and then start it. Then basically all we need to do after that is check the few ones that we're going to do. Right, so hopefully this is a bauxite. Please be a bauxite. I might have known it wouldn't be a bauxite. I'm going to get around to changing it, guys. I really am. I don't need to do this all the time. Thank you for whoever subscribed. That's very kind of you, by the way. I much appreciate it. Right, so the objective tonight is to get this spline, or sorry, these objects to respawn on the spline. And if I get that working tonight, I'm going to be really happy. Not only will I be really happy, I'll be really surprised. In fact, I'll probably be pretty shocked. So if we can get that working, guys, tonight, that would be a major breakthrough. Not only for getting the objects, but for testing, because now we know that we can actually save our position. We can actually start doing stuff in the game, right? So yeah, that one's always bauxite. Right, so what we can do is we can spin this round and then we can join this up. Right, we'll do it in a nice way like that. Like that, like that, like that. Okay, as soon as this starts pumping stuff out, we can basically save it. Save it and then stop it. Okay, now if we press play again, what we want to know is everything that's been output so far we want to check this as well. Actually, add breakpoint there, right? So what we want to do, actually, you know what we want to do? We want to delay this for like a second. Actually, no, we don't. We want to check if it's EMS saved, right? And if it is, we wait an extra amount of time, like at least a second, so it doesn't try to draw things on top of other things, right? But we'll worry about that in a second. Right, now the interesting thing here is going to be if we actually have a spline. So if we press play, continue, and then pause, right, we'll disable that, we'll resume, disable that, and we'll pause that again. Okay, now it's not going to have had time to actually output anything, so we've got our objects. So basically this is the shortest one. So that's going 0.25, 0.058, 0.089, 0.11122 and 0.154. Right, now that's how far they are along this spline in a normalized 0 to 1, okay? So, the point here is, do we have an actual spline? Right? So we're going to stop it. Right? We're going to press play. And it should go get the spline. Right? So if we resume, we come to here. And we do have a spline. And we set the track. Right? Right, so we step into this. And EMS equals true, so we're going to go down false. Okay? And then we're going to set the time to here. Right, this is going to continue doing this because what it's going to do is it's going to continue doing that, getting the spline. Right? So right. So that's okay. But it looks like we're not getting... Well, that shouldn't matter actually, right? So what we need to actually know here is right, so I'm thinking it's the... So it's not that, except it is. And this instance mesh should be saved. Right? And we need to find out where that's referenced, because I really want to know. I mean, in... Okay. Right, okay. Okie dokie. So this is on the construction script. Right? So again, what we're going to have to do is say no, it's actually doing that, isn't it? It's actually doing this anyway, so it's really neither here nor there. I mean, it doesn't need to go into this table row. Right, but what we'll do is we'll do this differently anyway. We'll get is saved and then we'll do a branch, right? And in actual fact, we're going to delete that, right? And we're going to take this out of the construction script, right? So we're going to cut that. In fact, we're going to copy it. We're going to save that, right? And then we're going to break that. We're going to go into our event graph, and we're actually going to add this to the begin play. And what we'll actually do is take this out, right? We'll add a custom event. Right? And we shall say build instanced mesh. Okay, and then put it in here. Right? And we'll leave that right there. And then we shall say build instance mesh. We'll put that here. Right? But actually what we'll do is we'll drag in here and we'll get that, then we'll do a branch. Okay, and we shall actually plug this in here, and this is false. So we should really call this, right, move this up a bit, right? In fact, we'll move it above that because that is going to actually get done first, because that's begin play, right? So that's begin play. Right, and if we do this, then we shall create another now. Right, I'm going to delete that. And we did a get spline, didn't we? Right, so at the end of this, not that, that's the get spline. Right, so we've completely buggered that up. So this is get spline. So this is basically at the end of begin play. Right, so we drag this up here. So we do this, and then we do that. Then in this case we create the saved version. So we'll do custom event. So we'll call that saved mesh. Right. And saved mesh. And with the saved mesh, we still do this. Or do we? Well, we don't set it to that because it's already saved. Well, in actual fact, we don't need to do any of that. All we need to actually do is do this, right? And that is the mesh from the struct items. So we actually have to do this. Which means we're going to have to move this up a bit and give ourselves a bit more space here, which is fine. We don't mind giving ourselves a bit more space. I'm thinking I'm fairly close here. Right? So what we do is we move that. We move these. And we move this. Right, that was a lucky guess. So we do need to get this, right? And if we I'm guessing we do that, then we do that, then we do that, but we can't actually do that. No, that's okay. That's okay. So these two basically end up pretty much the same, to be honest. Are they exactly the same? Not quite. What have I not got? Well, this isn't in the right place for a kickoff. Now, what I'm considering here is the fact, right, okay, so that shouldn't be there, okay? And we should be pulling it from here. Right, and that should actually go in there. And it should go in here. Okay? Now, the position and rotation is going to be moved by the spline anyway, so that is a red herring as far as any problems go. The issue is going to be if this is actually set, right? So this is the issue here. Straighten connects to reroute. I'm actually having quite a bit of fun tonight trying to sort this out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a break for 2.5 minutes till I get a cigarette and a drink. I'm going to grab my drink just now actually, and I'll be right back, folks. Back in a second. Okay guys, we're back. So let's try this out. I have had a little bit of a revelation, right? And it might work, it might not work. The interesting thing is, right, if we go to saved mesh, I'm going to add a breakpoint here. Now we can view the mesh. Now if this is something, we should see it, right? And I'll show you what my revelation is in a minute. Now there we have it. Right, and we want to disable that for a moment and hit resume and pause. Right, now if we go down to our objects, we have BP spliner, so it's got a spline, but the instance mesh is nothing. Okay, but it's a component. Therefore, if we stop this, access non-instance mesh, right, exactly. That is exactly the problem, I know. Right, now, if we go to functions and overrides, and we say components to save, and we make array, right, and we actually put this instance mesh into there. Now we are going to have to run it again to test it, right, but I think that might be the issue. Because it's a component. So this is test 5, even though it's not a test, right? We're just implementing stuff, or at least trying to, right? So we shall build our refinery over here, if it's going to do it for me, and we shall do another probe here, just in case. And we shall do another probe here. Can spin that around. And let's now see knew it, copper ore. I knew it. Which is why I built another couple of them, and probably not enough because that's copper ore as well. So in the meantime, we'll build another one there just in case. And that's copper ore. Well, this is going well, so we'll go with that. Okay, we're not going with that, and we've screwed things up a bit. So we need to find out what this is. And that one's copper ore, which is awesome. Right, thankfully we got some bauxite. Okay, there we go. We're now running. We can now save it. and stop it. And now if we press play and continue, we'll stop that. Oh, damn it. Event graph in here. Enable breakpoint. And it appears to me that our instance mesh is nothing. Right, so we've got a saved mesh, right? So we step into there. And the question is, we've got instance mesh is nothing. None. Okay. And we can resume, then disable that, play and pause, right? And I'm going to presume that every single one of these objects has not got where are they? Right, here they're here. There's nothing there. Okay, we've got another plan, right? We've got another little plan here. We shall add a variable, right, and we'll call it mesh, right, and it's a static mesh, right? We shall save that and we shall put it in the save game, right? And in our saved mesh, what we'll do is we'll do the exact same thing here, right? The only difference being that we're not going to grab this. Right? But we are going to do this. Okay, so we're going to recreate the mesh. We know we've got the position, right? So we'll do that, and then we'll grab this mesh, right? And then we'll let it do its thing. Okay? And that is going to go there. Then this can be removed. And that's basically how this one is done. Right? So we can drag this down so we can see it more clearly. What's actually going on here. And this. Okay, so we're setting the static mesh from here as well, which is fine. Okay. So we can drag that down there, and then we can drag it up there. Okay. So we're basically now the same. Except we're not, kinda. What we're doing is we're plugging this into here. And now we're the same. Okay. So the only difference between this version and the other version is we're taking the mesh that's already there. So that we don't actually need to go to the data table to find out what the product is, in theory. Now, I think we have to do test 6 because we didn't save the mesh. So we'll do a test 6. Right. And the next part of the equation is we shall do another probe. In fact, we'll do another couple of probes. So now we can spin this around, and in a second we'll find out what this is. We're going to have to work on all. We're also going to have to save this, save the space station, the space port. Right, so that's copper ore. We don't know what this one is yet. It's copper ore, would you believe? Right. Come on. Oh, that's bauxite. It always just manages to stop me from changing everything to bauxite. Right, so that goes to there and we start generating our stuff. So that gives us 3, save it, stop it, and now let's see what we've got. So we enable breakpoint, we press play, continue. It gives us our saved mesh, so we step into, we do that, we do that, we do that, we do that, and that should now, if we go back to our event graph, right, this should now do the get spline. So if we do the get spline and resume, step over, then we step into here, step over, and we have an instance mesh component, right? So this is a bit of an exciting moment because this might work. Except it didn't. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to see what this set new time is, okay? Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. Timeline, set new time, UE4. Right, so we're checking out the forums here, so we may as well have a look. And it says that, right, this guy's trying to do it for 2 seconds, add the float key of 0 at 0 and another at 1 at 2 seconds, then you use each update as alpha, right? Fair enough, that's the way we're doing it here. This works fine, but I'm to figure out how the length of timeline works and how it affects the keys. If I set new time to 3 seconds, how do I get the key to automatically change from 1 to 2 seconds, 1 to 3 seconds? Right, okay, so that's kind of not what we want to do. In actual fact, right, we're moving it along. We're getting the distance along the spline, and then we're setting our instance mesh to be here, right? So I think in the first instance, if we press continue, right, what we want to know is if this is set. That's the default value, right? We didn't set that. I'm an idiot. Right? I'm an idiot. Ah, God almighty. Right, so when you first build the mesh, right, what we've got to do here and it's actually in here when we first build the mesh, right, is we've got to set that mesh there, right, because we're still not giving it a mesh at this point because that mesh isn't set, right. So what we actually need to do is set this mesh as well, right. So what we need to do is set this mesh, right, and put that there. Actually, no, we don't. We put that there, then we put that there, then we put that there. Right, I'd set this mesh up so that we can see what this mesh is, but I hadn't actually set it. Well, sorry, I'd set this mesh up so we can save it, right? So this is going to be test 7. Yeah, it kind of goes up quick. Probes. Right, if this first one's a copper, we're changing it. Right? If this first one is a copper, we are changing that. We need to do a refiner. Do it there. And we shall take it from there. Right, we're changing it. Right, that one's bauxite. So we shall zoom that round. Then we shall do that, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that, and do that. Right, so we can disable that. Now, as long as we've got the top one enabled, we're okay. We saved mesh. So as long as when we do this, this is not empty, right? So it's barrel 2 at the moment, which is cool, right? So we can resume that. And we can let it do a couple of barrels, right? And now we'll save it. So it's saved, we'll stop it. And the next thing we're going to do is we shall continue, and it breaks in, which is exactly what we want, and we want to step into again exactly what we want. We have our barrel, right? So we actually resume, 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 and there they are. But they're not moving. Right. So we stop that. and if we go into the move me, which is here, so after we set, okay, we're going to have to go to here again. Now, I'm not 100% sure here if we do this and then press play, and then play, or if that's an interesting one. And let's see if the online Unreal Engine 5 documentation tells you something better. Okay. I don't think this is going to give us any idea how to do this. Right, we're checking on the how to use the set new time thing. If anybody knows how to do this in the chat, feel free to let me know. What I'll do is I'll say UE4 set new timeline not working. Right, so apparently nobody uses this. Right, doesn't seem to be an answer. Well, we don't seem to have an answer here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to investigate this offline, because it's not going to be a very exciting end to the stream with me trying to read the internet to find out an answer. But the issue here is that apparently this timeline will only fire once. If maybe what we do is we duplicate this, right? Or actually we don't. We have TL move, right? So we can drag this in. Set new time. Right, let's try this. If we do that, we go to there, and then we go to play. Okay, so we'll try that. And let's see if it works, shall we? Resume, 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 resume. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, who needs internet? Save it. There. Stop. Play. Let's have a look at this beautiful thing. And there they go. Fantastic. So we now have our barrels all barreling away. Absolutely superb. Well, actually, I don't need to go away now and fix that, but I'm going to finish the stream here on that high point that we now have absolutely everything working on the saves that we need for the moment. We still need to do the spliner and check it, although I think I did that earlier, so that might be okay. But we still have to do the rocket ship, so we have to save the components on that as well. And that's about it, and I'll probably do that off stream, because adding those overrides isn't exactly exciting stuff. So with that in mind, and Ivan Halder has subscribed, so thanks for that. And we shall catch you tomorrow at 2 PM Central. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching. Hit the like button as well if you fancy it. And check the description for my Discord, Patreon, and my previous game on Steam. So thanks for watching, and good night everybody.